Welcome to the ArtMiabo Podcast, the show where we talk to fine artists, creative minds, and cultural backers from the African continent. I'm your host, Gifton Yadike, and with me today is a Nigerian fine artist whose work has been exhibited at such prestigious events as the Artists Commune and the Plus 234 Art Fair. He is known on Instagram as Abdull Daddy01. Mr. Abdull Gafar, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing all right.
Thank you. So I know I've set the table for the audience, but can you please introduce yourself for those who may be unfamiliar with you?
Yeah, my name is Abdul Gafar, and I'm a fine artist from Nigeria. And my work spanned from a place from where I'm from. I'm a son of a soldier. I grew up in the barracks. So my works are from the idea of being a son of a soldier. So I try to paint about the memory, identity, ecology, and even adulthood as a man, being a man. So that's basically about my work. And yeah, that's just about me.
Yeah, and can you tell us a bit more about your artistic journey? What led you down the path of being an artist and being and depicting the different things that you've depicted?
Okay, yeah. Being an artist and as a profession comes from a lot of experiment, like trying to like do more before now having the idea of like, okay, this is what I want to do. So the idea of me choosing what I do and the language I use, that is using the military as my reference as a painter, is from lived experiences. Like, so as I said, I grew up in the barracks. So I did history in school. When I was in school, I did history in school. So I'm more of like a storyteller. So, and even in my other endeavors too, like in media, I love telling stories in films. The idea of, okay, if I'll take painting serious, what will I
I
want
can
to talk
relate.
about? Yeah, if I'll take painting serious, what will I want to talk about? So the need to talk about something. I searched about every ideas, but the one that feels closer and truth to me is the idea of painting the people I know, the strong men I know, the people that I know that people don't see them as how we respect them enough. We are closer to them. We are the one that are not supposed to even respect them, but we still respect them more than the people that ought to respect them. So the idea of, okay, let me tell this story. So the need to tell the story comes from a place of, okay, what about the insurgency in Nigeria? I grew up with that. The terrorism and the banditry. I grew up with that the most. Now I feel closer to that the most because when it started, it was when I was in JSS1. So I saw it. I know about it. I've seen and I've heard like real men, close men, like friends. I've lost a lot of people. So yeah, the need to talk about that was the idea of okay, let me do the military painting thing. So that's just the basic idea towards my paintings and the journey of my finance journey. So I focus more on identity. That's why I represent military men with their camouflage. But I still want to clarify the idea of me
Yes,
painting military men, that I'm painting only military men. I'm painting men in general, but representing them with the strongest form of men. The strongest form of men on earth, I would say, are the soldiers
that
and
you
military
know.
people. Yeah, so that's why I
Yes.
represent them with and the soldiers kind of. So I paint trauma too. Trauma in the sense that I've heard stories, I've lived in experiences, I've seen. So I paint trauma too. Then the psychology of it all, from experience, from stories, and from behavior. Psychology is the study of behavior and mind. So with that, I've experienced all. That's why my language and my stories are basically on that for now. So that's that about my journey for now. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, thank you so much, truly. I think talking about that again, about the soldiers, especially with a lot of your just some of the works I've seen going through your profile on Instagram. You often depict these soldiers. You mentioned psychology, you've mentioned the loss and various things that you've experienced or that you have heard about or seen. Can you walk us through the idea behind your visual language? Because I've noticed with some of your works, you have these soldiers, but they have distorted, almost monstrous shadows. So maybe if you could walk us through the idea behind that visual language or the process behind that visual language and how it connects to things like PTSD and psychological trauma.
So the way I picked trauma identity with the idea of using my main figures as the soldiers was why I use it that way. And the reason for it is because when I hear stories and when I see things, especially I have a friend is in the US Navy. So he talked to me about his PTSD situations a lot. And when he talks about things that you can't imagine, things that you can't believe exist. But from the idea, you will know these things are just, they are not there, but they are just fears. That's where trauma comes in from. So growing up too, I've seen situations where men came back from let me say from war, from peacekeeping, and everything changed. Not that it changed in the idea of maybe mental mental situation. No, this matter of emotions, this matter of fear. There's type of fear that comes with family. I'm trying to look for a better way to explain it. The idea to explain this
No,
thing
take your
is,
time.
yeah, okay, thank you. From a place of fear, let me use from a place of fear. When combating with your fear, you see things that you can't explain. Now, I represent trauma and fear with shadows because that's the best way I can explain it in a way that things that we can't explain, but we can at least show a sign of it. I don't know if you're understanding me.
No, I
Hold on, let
understand it.
me
I
see
understand
that.
it.
I used to like the example of the US Navy guy I talked about. So he used to like when I ask questions because I ask questions. I'm a curious somebody that I ask questions a lot. So when I ask questions, they tell me things that they can't explain. You understand? And from a place from adulthood to I've went through a phase that I can't define because it's just there. But I can only feel it, but I can't say it. That's the idea of the shadow. So now the shadow now represents fear and trauma. So why I use the idea of making it more abstract and monstrous is because these things are fear that attack. They are not just something that you just like they are not they are not like I don't know how to explain it. They are just things that I can't explain, but they are things from
Yeah, they're unexplainable.
yeah, they're not explainable. Yeah, but they are experiences and they are from
Yes. Yeah. And there's a very raw and almost uncomfortable honesty, in these pieces. So I want to know, how do you balance creating something that is visually compelling, because these are very visually compelling, while still respecting the weight and the sensitivity of the subject matter? How do you balance doing that with respecting the weight, the very weight of this, because this is a real thing that we're talking about, the PTSD and the psychology that soldiers face, and the sensitivity of it?
I said before that I paint from a place of honesty. So the raw idea comes from a place from of feeling. That's how I feel when I paint. You understand? Do more to explain an honest truth. My paintings come from a place of cultural context where I tell stories more than technical abilities. You understand? So the honesty of my stories, that's what make it that raw. You understand? And from lived experiences, everything about the military are rugged and like are more of like something they are not polished. That's just it. Just from a place of honesty and memories. Yeah, they come from my memories and I just try to like do what I can do to it.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Obviously, you shared a lot of you've shared, a lot of your own experiences, and the fact that you basically grew up in this military environment. So I do wonder, like, is your work anyway? I can see the empathy. Is your work empathy? But is there also a bit of critique as well? Something in between of the military, or without, putting too much out there, but just in your view.
Yeah. It's my work come from more of a place of empathy and reflection.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I
So
can hear
my
you.
work come more from a place of empathy and reflection because I saw things which I'm trying to like explain. You
Right.
understand? So these things are more of emotional and
Yes.
psychological. So yeah, so they come from place of empathy. So I want people to see things that they don't expect, especially from the Nigerian context. You understand? When
Yes.
when we talk about the news of the security news, the news of insurgency, you see people like condemning the abilities of these military men. Like sometimes they just like, but I lived with them and I know what's going on. You understand? So the need to like let people see the idea of these people is not just from a place of what they assume it to be. That's why my work comes from a place of more of empathy and reflection.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I think building on to going back to like the professional aspect of it, you've built a very strong presence on Instagram. So I wonder how important social media has been for you in shaping your career. Do you approach creating for digital audiences differently than for your traditional gallery spaces, the ones that you've managed to find yourselves in?
No, no, no. I don't. It's same. Both digital and the traditional operation is same thing. It's
Uh,
just that Instagram for like connecting and reaching out to more people. Like how I met you now is through Instagram, through my active presence. You understand? So basically,
yeah,
digital like, process and I document my growth. You understand? So I still approach traditional
yeah,
galleries too. I've worked with few galleries. I've done residency and I've done few exhibitions. You understand? I even moved into a new city now
yes.
just to push my art and all. So it's just nothing more. The Instagram is just like a digital archive for me where I document things.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess my last question is, for those artists who are still hesitant, if you, still hesitant to put their work out there or make that jump and just put themselves out there, put that because art is a place that art is lived experience that's by its nature is lived experience is that creativity and those raw emotions within you. So do you have any advice for those who were still a bit hesitant to put that out there? And from your experience, what would you advise to them?
Yeah, I don't have much advice. It's just that you just have to do what you have to do. You understand? At the right time when you have to do it. When you feel ready, you understand? I
Right.
understand that there are reasons why don't maybe they are not ready or maybe they are waiting for some. Even me, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. I'm still trying to like push in what I have at hand and see when I'm ready to put out. But I just have to keep out. I just have to keep going. I don't know. I don't know what advice I'll give more. It's just that we just have to do what we have to do. You understand?
What we have to
If
do.
we really know what
I think that's perfect advice, honestly.
yeah, just it. It's not something that it's not something. Yeah, I understand. You know, the digital world now needs more presence. Like the saying they say, exposure is a currency, or what they say. Something. If you're the more you're out,
Yeah,
the more
something along
people will
those lines. Yeah.
along that line. Yeah. So we just have to just
Yeah.
try our best and what we have to do.
Yes. Well, Mr. Abdul Gafar, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe and leave a comment below. I am Gift Nyadike. This has been the ArtMiabo Podcast. We will see you next time. Thank you.
Yeah.